VO Radio would like to know, are you a fan of YouTube? Introducing VO Radio Live Tubees.
When I wake up every day, I get on YouTube and check the front page. I scroll, and what do I see? Oh, what a surprise.
Be sure to send your email to ask@voradioonline.com. Now it's time for this week's VO Tubee on VO Radio and YouTube. All right, hello and welcome aboard, everybody. Yes, it's time for another VO Tubee, and I'm your host with the most, the ghost host.
Woohoo!
If you haven't figured out, the crazy man that has way too much coffee and time on his hands. Not really. That's a joke. Inside joke, right? Anyways, joining me today, of course, is the Top of the Mind feature contributor, Stacey Barrow. And if you haven't heard Stacey, you're, I don't know, hiding on a rock somewhere. Stacey's our imaging voice, the female imaging voice on VO Radio nationwide and worldwide. She is the feature contributor for Top of Mind, a great feature for beginners just starting out and people that are maybe a year into or 2 years into the journey. She shares all kinds of stuff that should be top of mind for you voiceover talent out there. So, hey, thank you for being part of the show. We usually have Beb Standing joining us. Periodically, Deb Monroe or Dee Albus will join us, or Peter Drew, and whatever you'd like our Let's Talk VO segments on Monday and Wednesday at 5 p.m. He said, plugging it. But they're all around vacation. Deb's dealing with some family situations going on. And Dee, I don't know what's going on with him, but he couldn't make it today. So it's just me and Stacey and you. Yes, we want to invite you who's out there on the YouTube world watching and on our VO Tubees page on the live Tubee section of the website to zoom in. You can zoom in by video or zoom in by call in or audio, and you can participate live in our open mic discussion, so to say. And you can be part of the program if you want to join us. So check that out by going to the page on the website where the live Tubees are, and there's the Zoom information right there. You can click on the Zoom link,
Thingamajig.
the phone, the thingamajigs, and all that fun stuff. Hey, we want to thank also our sponsors, of course, as usual, who's had our back since day one. Believe it or not, we're in our third year, and these people are still supporting us, and they haven't ran off into the woods yet. So thank you so much. We want to thank, let's see, who is it all collectively? The VoiceOver Extra, Vorg, the VoiceOver Collective, and of course Nava. And Nava is doing some fantastic, wonderful things, as is all of them. But Nava is really putting up the good fight for us on behalf of everybody in the industry in the AI fight. So you got to go to NavaVoices.org and check out all the stuff that Tim and all the people there are really getting into for us. They're really fighting the good fight. So support them, donate to them, become a member, apply for membership. It's worth it. Every penny. They have our backs, and there's a lot of great resources at Nava to check out, as well as the other sponsors. So, hey, by the way, have you heard about the Great Voice Off? Hey, there's Mark Grawl popping in. The Great Voice Off is basically a new thing that we're doing here, and is giving you an opportunity to be part of the competition and see how much your voice competes to all the others out there, like Mr. Mark Graw, who just joined us here. Mark, are you in the Great Voice Off yet?
I beg your pardon. That's a vicious rumor. I still have sight in one eye. What was I doing off? What? No.
The what?
How are you guys?
Hey, man, thanks for joining in, Mark.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really a great thing. All you got to do is go to the website. You can check out the area called the Great Voice Off. It's right there on the homepage. Click on it, go in there, find out what's going down, upload your competition and your form and your best file up to 60 seconds long. Yes, it can be mixed. We prefer it to be just dry voiceover. But if you have a content produced thing you want to share, you can upload that too. And then we will add you to the showcase, which starts opening on June 1st. So until then, we're gathering up all of the entries, and then we are putting those entries on the website, and the showcase will open up for polls open, he said, June 1st. And you'll be able to sit back and then get votes, hopefully, and become the winner of the first Great Voice Off, ladies and gentlemen. So, hey.
I hear that promo in my sleep. In my head, I'm going, extra, extra, read all about it.
It's crazy, and we've already had quite a few people. I think we're up to like 20 7 or 28 who've already
Nice.
uploaded
Oh,
male and
good.
female. And we
Good.
have broken down into 2 categories. We have male, female, and crazy voices like Mark Grau does. Hey, by the way,
It's a
speaking
little
of Mark Grau, have you heard
Uh-oh.
of the great voiceover man? You got to check that out. Voiceover man and his sidekick. You got to check that
And
out.
sidekick.
I'm telling you, man, Mark, I can't tell you how many people, brother, say to me all the time, my day is stressful. When all hell's breaking loose and I'm feeling really bummed out, I go and listen to some of the voiceover man features. I catch them. I listen to them on demand, and it makes me laugh, and it makes me realize sometimes, man, we just take ourselves too
Oh, no,
serious, man.
my favorite. At least you get fun comments. What I usually get is, I really like the animated character. It's like it's a picture. It's like that's okay. Well, good. I guess that's
You
what
know,
you got out of it.
you know what people say to me? They say that Mark Grau, he's going to be somebody.
He's sick and twisted. What is he
He's going
thinking?
somewhere.
Hello,
Hey, Mark.
I'm voiceover man.
Well, we appreciate the voiceover man joining us. We want to go ahead and jump into our first listener email. So here we go. Away we go.
You're listening to VO Radio. The views, opinions, and insights shared are not necessarily those of other panelists, guests, and contributors on VO Radio and its broadcast programs. Advice, tips, opinions, and legal suggestions are based on industry experience of the individual co-host, panelist, guest, or contributor. These opinions and comments are not endorsed by or verified by VO Radio and its operators. Listener discretion is advised.
Insert legal. Mark Grau is full of shit.
VO Radio, internet radio for the voiceover community.
Hi, this is Linda Bruno. Be sure to catch my podcast, the Voiceover Gurus podcast, weekends during the Weekend Power podcasts here on VO Radio. Check out the podcast section of the website for my weekend showtimes.
Internet radio for the voice artist just like you.
If you're like most voice talent today, you're wondering various things relating to your voiceover career. Well, VO Radio has your answers. Here's more questions answered by our panelists live.
Listen and learn. Internet radio for the voice artist just like you.
All right, there you go. So listen, I wanted to also share with you, if you've not known about our Weekend Power podcast, like Linda was just talking about, our own Mark Grau and Miss Deb Chef Monroe have their podcast running on the weekends here as well. And it's called The Nitty and the Gritty. You got to check it out. It's really cool stuff, man. So make sure that you look at the programming section of the website for the podcast schedule and catch the Nitty and Gritty podcast with Mark and Deb for sure. So, okay, let's go for it. What do you think, Mark? Here's the first question. It's from Jason in North Carolina. And actually, with full disclosure, in all honesty, Jason is a former student of mine. He's been around the business for about 7 to 10 years. He really did well when we trained together. We worked on a couple demos and things are going good for him. This was a question that he posed when I first started working with him, and I thought it was worthy of bringing it in. So Jason, thank you. I know you brought this up to me in person, but can you talk about working off other talent or recording tracks if only part of a cast in a commercial, animation, or narration, etc.? So basically what he was talking about was 90, let's say 5% of the voiceover industry are non-union, let's just say. And most of those people have to work out of their own rig. They have to work out of their own small home-based studio environment. They don't get to participate in actually physical table reads, if you will. They have to be involved in virtual Zooms or virtual pre-planning or phone calls or whatever. They don't get an opportunity to actually work in the same booth or in the same studio with other talent. They don't even get the chance very often to practice, which I think is crazy, to practice with other talent. When I've done projects in the past, I've made it a major point for all of my voice talent to get on with me back in the Skype days even, to get on with me all so we could all just do a virtual table read. And it would get everybody on the same page. And then I would let everybody go back to their own recording and deliver it and edit and clean the tracks and then send them to me. And then I would compile those before I sent them off to the client, the animator, or whoever it was. But a lot of people don't run into that. They may be the male or the female in a commercial for a local barbershop, and it may be a 60-second ad running in some small D1 or D3 or whatever market. And the reality is, they don't understand that when you read a script, you have to be able to interpret what's coming prior to your line
Mm-hmm.
and what's coming after your line, so that you're literally working off the talent in your head. If you can't physically be part of that session, then you have to think about, if the line has dot, 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 and it's an unfinished line, then you're kind of stepping on it and it's being handed off to you. You're kind of cutting them off, or what we call stepping on the talent in a lot of ways. If it comes down to it's a question with a proper question mark inflection, you have to answer it just like it was addressed to you in the spot. So that's kind of what Jason back in the day didn't know. And I know Stacy, me and you way back in the day when we trained together, we worked on that same kind of concept that a lot of people don't realize that. And Mark, you've been in thousands of sessions where if you don't have the same or the whole cast in the booth or in the studio at the same time at different booths, and they can't really feed off one another, sometimes that can take away some of the performance. It can take off the way that you inflect your lines, the way you hand it off, the way you add sarcasm or jealousy or joking inflections in your voice, because you don't hear the other talent you're working off of. So short and sweet, and I want you guys to definitely give me your opinion on this. I tell talent, aside from practicing it and becoming good at it, have somebody in your house read with you. Have somebody in your house, like you'll see off camera, a casting director will do, or voice director will do. We'll read the line and let the artist then deliver the response or the line on the mic. So if you have somebody, a teenager who wants to be in the business, or even a 12-year-old, or somebody who can, or your friend Raul or whoever that's over, ask him to come in and ask her or him to feed your line, to work the line prior to you. This way, when you're recording your lines, you want to obviously be able to deliver that line based on how you would respond or set up the next line after you. And a lot of people who are doing animations, as you know, Mark, it can be a 40, 50, 60 page a script. And you may be in scene 3 and then scene 9 and then scene 18. You have to be able to understand what's going on in the scene, but you have to also understand what is the character prior to me and what's the character that I'm handing off to gonna do. And this is the way that you learn how to become good at working off talent. So with that said, what's your thought, Mark? Because you've been in this business in a lot more higher A-lister than I've been ever, man.
I still want to know who your friend Raul is.
I know.
I was concerned about that.
We want to talk about Raul, Anthony.
Honestly, it's twofold. First off, most animation is usually done as a cast. That's where you get that magical kind of thing and feeling out. As far as table reads, very rarely you'll walk in the door, they may do a run through, but you're pretty much at a level where they know what you're going to do. They approve the character, they like it, and know kind of what, and obviously the director's going to tell you what to do. The real key here is look at the stuff, especially if you have a script that actually has the characters on it. That gives you a wonderful roadmap into who you are reacting to and acting towards and replying to and what's coming up next. And, is it swarmy? Is it smartass? Is it kind of, all of those kind of things depending on how that character is written. But also really take the time to look at what people have a tendency to do is completely gloss over a joke. And you'll go, da 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 da. No, if you do this, it's, oh, okay, yeah, okay. And then obviously, if you're playing up the joke, the writer goes, he gets it, and then you're in. It's interesting in that video games, you don't ever have, very rarely will you have the other character. You almost always you're by yourself. Singularly, you're replying to the player. The player pushes this, you say this, da. So the lines you're not really sure. Sometimes it's hard to kind of understand who you're replying to. The other thing too is direction. Stick to that and kind of make it, but a lot of the time stuff is not written the direction, in other words, can be so confusing. Your brain is swirling, going, "What are they talking?" It's like William H. Macy if he was doing kind of like a Chris Rock feel, but a voice like Sam Elliott or James Earl Jones. If he had a comedy take like Jim Carrey, it's like, huh? It's like which just so your head's kind of swirling and doesn't make sense. So look at the copy, the way it's written, and that will really speak to you. Sometimes a lot of the times they'll put tags in, like a couple of YouTube links, and they'll say has nothing, it's just character reference, or I love it when they go celebrity reference, meaning what? Do you like the pacing? You like the style, the tone, nothing. It's just celebrity, right? And those can be very disparate kind of things where it's like, what the hell are they talking about? So that is just it's just in terms of talking. You'll get used to doing, but look at that line ahead. Read the lines in between. We all have a tendency. We get a script. You look at your highlighted lines and go blah, 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 and send it without really stopping to think, okay, what's going on here? And again, VO 101, where am I? Who am I speaking to? But the lines themselves will really give you an idea of, are you getting irritated? Are you in command? If it's a military thing, is it commanding and you're an authority that nobody's going to tell you no, so it's like, you've got that kind of feel to it. Is it ditzy? Is it kind of fun? Is it kind of silly? Is it kind of but look at the way the script is written and see if there's anything in there that you should decipher that they're not giving you, because a lot of the time they don't give it to you. It's like, okay. And if you have a thing where inflection's going to make a difference, do 2 in a row right next to each other. Let me go, and you really have no idea. And you really have no idea. And just do it like that. And there it goes. And they're like, oh my God, he did it twice. It's like, no, it's your audition. It's perfectly fine. If you're not clear, go ahead and do it that way. But that way it just kind of covers you.
Cool.
And I know I just went to great lengths to say nothing. I don't know.
No, that was good.
I'm the winded one around here. You know what? The reality is that, Jason, if you're going to listen to this and see this again in the future when we talked about it in person, what I explained to Jason was, and he found it out later because he actually came back and said, I've actually run into this now, and I thank God we handled this lesson, because if you're a voiceover talent, you don't have the ability to be in a multiple session with people, like you're doing just a gaming track, or you're not in an ensemble environment like Mark was talking about. Then what happens is, if you don't understand how to feed off the line and feed off the next line and go back and forth and be sandwiched in between 2 lines, and the other talent does the same thing, and talent 3 does the same thing, all of your stuff sounds like you're all individual thoughts. They don't sound like a conversation,
right?
And I find that a lot. I've found quite a bit, especially back in the years when I started working with people that were now recording in their own home and set up studios. I found it to be a real problem when people compile the tracks and send me their tracks, and I would build out the voice track for whatever I was building on, even just a simple radio commercial advertising. I would have the female send me her line, and the male would do it, and then a kid line, and then a male voice would be again and come back, and the mother would end it. There'd be like 6 lines, but they'd be split between the 3 actors. And what I found was all the inflections were ending question, ending inflections, ending inflection, ending inflection. And it sounded to me, trained ears, it sounded to me like you can tell they're all in different recording.
But use the script too
Right.
so if the script, if it's like, it's Katie and Bob and back and forth and go, seriously, Katie, and add that, because all you're doing is you're using the script. It's already what's written. It's there. You're just reiterating the name. And sometimes that will help you set up that line to make it more conversational.
Right. It's kind of like an establishing line, like an establishing shot in the visual.
Exactly. Yep.
That's why if you ever watch the old Seinfeld shows, they would always show the outside of the restaurant. It's called an establishing shot for you watchers out there. They're letting us know we're about to go into the restaurant they hang out at. Well, if like you just said, if they understand to even improvise it yourself, if it isn't written in there, don't be afraid to say, well, Bob, or honey, if you're going to be the wife talking to her husband or boyfriend or whatever.
Or if you're talking to Raul, it's okay.
We're always talking to Raul.
Stacey Barrow, I know you've run into this by now somewhere along the way. What's your thought about this?
Oh my God, I have so many thoughts. What's funny is I just realized today that I reached the end of this particular notebook, and I'm always just jotting down things I want to make sure to remember, these tidbits of things that we just experience. And I just love hearing these golden nuggets of wisdom and everything. And I've reached the end of my notebook. I'm so proud. I love it. You know, the situations that I've been in where I've been on Zoom with people and we were working on something collectively, whether an audio drama or even with Lalapeda's a couple of radio plays. Wow, how things evolve character-wise when you're feeding off someone. I mean,
Yeah.
in a perfect world, there's nothing better than that. And to have people in person and doing that, oh my gosh, just like my heart starts beating thinking about it. Just, how that could, the humor that could happen and how that could take flight like crazy. And I love that thought, where you would really get to be that character and expand on it. And I do think it would be very difficult from the other end to piece together everybody when everybody's got a different scene and they're reacting to something different, completely different in their minds, and then recording. Okay, how about scenarios where you have these different stabs, which are different scenarios? I try to make sure that they, like you guys said, don't all end the same. So they feel different as you go through them. And then, if you have no information and you don't always have the luxury of asking and everything, make it up. Make up the scene in your head. What are you reacting to? What are you responding to? You're not just saying that for nothing, So, like, of course, who, what, when, where, blah, 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 all those. But really smell it, taste it, feel it. What are you responding to? Not only what did they just say, and then you're answering or talking to them about it, but where really are you? What brought you to that point in your character life, whether real or imagined? What brought you to that point at that moment? How'd you get there? Why are you there? So then that's very important. We often overlook that, And the other thing is, the thing that we are always responding, but it's got to be real. Like, all of it has to be real. I just wish that we could do more things in person. You know what I mean? These days, that would be so, so cool. I had somebody recently, like, I did ask some questions and they gave me such depth of what was happening. I thought, oh, did they have more insight than me with a script? And they didn't. They just made all that up. And I was so impressed because, I thought I was pretty good at that. But, a reaction for a superhero or something. And I was just so impressed at the level of creativity to make all that up. So use your imagination and go for it.
Well, the thing is, too, if you're doing that kind of stuff, the audition, absolutely. But if you're doing, that's a live directed session, because you don't know whether, is he overboard superhero? Is it pulled back? And usually that's what they're telling you. Like, you need to do this. Oh, okay. And sometimes where you have kind of missed that content and go, oh, okay, now I get it. They explained what's going on, because you're looking at it blindly going, okay. And you won't usually, animation and stuff, sometimes I'm assuming, like, maybe on pay-to-plays, that kind of stuff, you're probably on your own.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing as if somebody's cutting you off, finish the word and let them cut you off in post, because otherwise it's that I'm waiting.
Right.
I'm waiting. And it sounds totally weird to cut something into that. It's like, but it sounds like you were waiting for that to come.
Right. Like you said, so finish the statement and leave the right inflection on the end of the statement, but finish the line and then let Mark or whoever in post do the edit magic and decide if they want to cut the word in half. So it sounds like it was more stepped on or abruptly cut or whatever have you. So, hey, let's go to a text that came in here. A text came in from Michael, and Michael says, thanks. What a great topic. I just ran in this last week. This is so appropriate for what I'm going through right now. I got a question for one of you. If Mark can tell me, do you find that most of the time it's okay with the director for the cast to actually talk with one another and practice over Zoom prior to meeting up a week later for the actual session? So do you find that's okay in the union world? I know it's okay in the non-union world, but
well, I mean, it's okay. I mean, you usually don't do that because everybody's so busy. You don't really meet up until you walk in the door to the session. The only thing with doing that is that without the director, the way everybody's interpreting it may not be exactly what they want. I'll get a great example is when I get an animation script, I don't look at it, and it doesn't mean because I'm all of the. It's just I used to look at it and go through methodically and go, okay, fine, and then it was like so, and then you walk in and you go, don't do the laugh. What do you mean don't do that? Don't you know what this laugh brings to this character? How dare you?
Right.
And so in your brain, every time you hit that line, you're going, shit. Don't laugh, And so I thought it was just easier to just kind of keep a clean palette, which in my case is not hard to clean out there. There's not a lot going on. But at least that way you keep it open to whatever it is they want you to get. It's like, oh, okay, great. So you're not fighting your brain going, no, I did it this way and they want it this way, and brain's going, no, that's not how we did it, So it just helps you a little bit to keep that open and just know your stuff, know where you need to come in, know your character well and stuff. And I don't think if the director, if they want to do a table read that way over Zoom, fine. But I think sometimes if you do it on your own, you're not necessarily going to do it. It embeds, that's how we're going to do it. And then the director jumps on and that's not what they wanted. And then you're kind of fighting yourself.
Really good point. Michael, I think what you're hearing is the golden nuggets from Mr. Legend himself there, because the reality is, if you're going to be part of a directed session or an in-person session, you probably want to just go through the lines and get the lines down and rehearse them, but you don't necessarily go overboard with creating your character yet until you go in there, have something to take in with you in the session. But the reality is, if you're in a non-union, non-directed session and you're all, and I've been there with these people in the past, and they're all individually non-directed, being relied upon to do their own lines and submit their lines for like an international non-union project, whatever. I don't think there really would be anything wrong, but the problem would be you would need to then contact myself or whoever the casting director is, or the agent, or whoever is compiling the cast, and then ask them, is it okay if I contact everybody and we get together just to practice our lines, not necessarily come up with exactly what we want to deliver. If it's a directed session, you want to allow, like Mark's saying, the director to have control over that session. But if you're doing a non-directed session and you're compiling, I think it's a pretty good thing to do is to play off of one another a little bit over Zoom, and then all of you run back and do your lines individually. But
no, there is a thing though with animation. When they do animation, it's called it's a normal pause edit. It's 8 frames between characters, so you don't ever want to step on the other character. It's like they go, so you have no idea. Oh, yes, I do. That's 8 frames, which is tiny, but I can get in and cut
8 frames.
Yes, and it's an 8 frame. It's called a normal pause edit.
So what is that, about a quarter, like 0.25 second?
Well, it's enough that I can get in and cut to, like, if I liked your take but I didn't like my take, I can use another one of my takes and put it in, and it's still going to fit, and it's not laid over, even though you usually record people on separate tracks, but there's a bleed a little bit. So yeah, you just a beat. I mean, it's just not. Just so you're not stepping on it. That's all. It's
awesome. Hey, this was a great situation that came up with Jason last month, and I'm glad I dug it up and thought this might be a great way for him to bring it up. And I wrote him, and he said, "Sure, go for it, man." So I'm glad that he let me share this, even though he doesn't have proprietary rights to everything. But great session, great conversation, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there like you. Hey, you want to Zoom us? You can go to the Zoom information. You can Zoom in. You can call in by Zoom. You can text us. Ready? 970-682-3424, like Michael just did, 970-682-3424. Or if you are watching over YouTube or the video live, and you have your handy dandy phone in your hand or whatever, click on the email icon on your phone, and you can send an email to ask@voradioonline.com. ask@voradioonline.com. We do monitor the text and the emails here while we're doing the show for sure. So, hey, we got to go take a quick break. We're going to come back with block 2 with Stacy bringing us in. We have another email from Janice, and we're going to go for that Who's That Voice competition in this next block. So 2 minutes, stick around, and we'll be back in just a bit here. Hang tight. Don't go anywhere.
This VO Tubee is sponsored by...
Hey there, VO Radio listeners. It's D here, your friendly neighborhood tattoo VO. For those who don't know, I'm a voice actor and audio producer helping clients all over the world. If you need your message to stand out so that you can leave an indelible mark, reach out at TattooVO.com or search TattooVO on your favorite social media app and see why hundreds of clients in over 60 countries trust their brand at TattooVO. Till then, keep shining. TattooVO, lending a voice to those who demand to be heard.
What's the key to being a successful voiceover? Well, it's twofold. Acting with your unique and authentic being, and marketing. Be consistent with growing and honing your skills to beat out the AI monster we're all facing, and marketing. The million-dollar question is, how do you master these skills? Of course, you hire a good coach who's been in the biz, who's been down this road, and can help you avoid pitfalls and rabbit holes. I'm Diana Birdsall, coach and voice actor. Get in touch at diana@dianabirdsall.com.
Street Smart Coaching. That's what you get at VO 101.
Hi, I'm Anthony Reese, 35-year veteran, casting director, producer, and voiceover coach here at VO 101.
Whether a beginner or veteran voice talent,
You'll find everything you need to get your career started or take your career to the next level. Training, website design, YouTube channel creation, voiceover demos, video demos, a free evaluation, and even a free training area.
get Street Smart Coaching at VO 101.
That's VO101.com.
VO101.com.
I'm Stacey Barrow, and I'm the imaging voice here on VO Radio, as well as a feature contributor. My feature is Top of Mind, where I talk about what's top of mind for those who are new to VO. I do all different types of voiceover, and I'm also bilingual in English and Spanish. I truly love all things voiceover, and I definitely love to talk about it. So reach out to me anytime here at VO Radio Online, or you can also find me at voiceoversbystacy.com.
When I wake up every day, I get on YouTube, and what do I see? Oh, what a surprise.
Be sure to send your email to ask@voradioonline.com. VO Tubee on VO Radio and YouTube.
Okay, welcome back to VO Tubee. Oh my gosh, you're here with Anthony Reese, Mark Grau, myself, Stacey Barrow, and it's Friday, and I always believe anything can happen on a Friday. I love Fridays almost as much as I love Mondays. I know that sounds weird, but you know, anything can happen, and you have time for it to happen on a Monday. All right, so ways to reach us and join us on the show. You can always text us, and that's a really popular thing to do. We get texts all the time, 970-682-3424. Again, that's 970-682-3424. Or you can email us at ask@voradioonline.com. And, you know, on our website, what you can do, there's information on our live Tubees page if you want to join us by Zoom. And, oh my gosh, and just like Mark did today, that was a cool surprise. Also, the Great Voice Off. I don't know if you've heard about that yet, but all you have to do is record 60 seconds of you being your fabulous self and submit it.
Fabulous.
Do what?
Fabulous self.
Fabulous. Is it fabulous? Or like the promo, outstanding? And submit it so we can hear you. And it's a fun summer thing we have going on. So go to the website, go to listeners, participate, and then you'll see the Great Voice Off and submit it, because you could win prizes. You could even win an interview. I don't know about cash, though. I don't think cash is part of it, but I know. And Mark's like, oh, maybe I'm going to submit here.
Hey, voice off, pal.
And I'd like to thank our sponsors, of course. And there's a lot of V's in our sponsors. We've got the Vorg, the Voiceover Extra, the Voiceover Collective, and the very great Nava, the non-V.
3 V's and 1 N, right? So there we go. Hey, I wanted to give a shout out, by the way, speaking of text, earlier at the beginning of the show, Todd wrote in and said exactly that. What's this about this great voice thing I just heard? So there you go, Todd. Yeah, you just heard all about it for sure. So, hey.
Yeah, and we've had like a lot of participants so far. So do it. It's fun. It's all in fun. And we want to hear what you have. So now, before we get to the next email question, you know, I have a thought about Jason's from before. Okay. And I got swept up in the whole, you know, response idea of that and working off of each other and how to respond accordingly. So you sound like you're actually answering something. But sometimes, and this can backfire on you, so be careful, but I talk to myself. On the recording, I will ask myself the question, I will be that other person, and then respond accordingly. But you have to make sure you know who you are and don't get too much into the other character. But I've found that my, household, they're not good readers for me. I spend too much time thinking, oh, that's not fun. I can't respond
unless
to
you
that.
want 7 German Shepherds barking your lines at you.
Yeah. I'm like, Gino, Nico, Rocky, you guys didn't say it right. Yeah. And that's not so fun for me or realistic for me to really practice my lines doing that. So, but you have to remember, you have to be careful not to leave that in your recording though, because that's not a good thing.
Exactly right.
And don't bleed over yourself. Don't cut yourself off too much to where you can't differentiate. When you're trying to actually work with your recording and edit and everything like that. But that's one oddball tip, and you don't have to be too mental about it, but how you can have fun with it. It's a way to have fun with the characters.
Absolutely. Hey, before we go to the next question, Texas came in and Maya, M-I-A, Maya. Oh, okay. She's a regular. Maya wants to ask Mark, you used to do a lot of workshops. Do you still do workshops anymore for animation and gaming?
I've been doing stuff primarily Zoom wise. Just at the studio, it's gotten so hectic to try and pull that together. Also, I'm splitting time now between East Coast, West Coast, and I'm finding it harder and harder to go back to LA, even though that's where I was born and raised. It's not exactly what I grew up in.
Right.
So yeah, I still do, but it's online. But I found it's a little more controllable online too, because you can really one-on-one, and you don't have, so what you're saying, then yes, that's what. But okay, so on that, it's like, okay, so sometimes a class situation is good, but I don't think you get as much, other than you get to watch other people participate, and you can learn off that, obviously, off what they're doing. But
right,
usually it's one-on-one over Zoom.
So the answer for Mia, is basically you don't do workshops as often in person, but you do them virtually now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And are you down in Florida now, or South Florida area? Or
I am right now. I'm in Florida, right? Yeah, right. Yeah.
Awesome,
yes, I am.
man.
Yep.
So
yeah.
you're going between East Coast and West Coast, literally.
Yeah, I still have my place in Old Town
King Palm
Pasadena,
trees or
and the studio's still cranking, and all. But I've just found, there's something inherently cool about being able to drive onto the beach and just sit there and pull your chair out and go sit in the water and go. So it's kind of nice. Yeah, it's a very different. I've got about a little under 3/4 of an acre with a big house, and it's all one floor. So as I get older, I won't fall down the stairs. So it's good.
Do you get any alligators?
No, thankfully up here, I'm sure there are, but I have not seen one yet. Thank heaven.
Alligators.
Yeah, that wouldn't be at the top of my thing either.
Florida,
not only
you've got.
do I hate them to death from growing up down there, but I tried one day. I did a bite. A friend of mine was doing an alligator cook, and I ate a piece, and he goes, "Just like chicken, ain't it?" And I said, "Yeah, just like rotten chicken." Ugh.
Oh my God. Everything's supposed to taste like chicken. That's weird, right?
Right.
Exactly. What part of the alligator were you eating?
The tail typically is what they do, but hey, let's go for it. It's time for our next question here at VO2B.
If you're like most voice talent today, you're wondering various things relating to your voiceover career. Well, VO Radio has your answers. Here's more questions answered by our panelists live.
Listen and learn. Internet radio for the voice artist, just like you.
Just like you.
Who's that girl?
I've heard that voice before.
That girl.
Okay, this is Janice from Indiana. And how can we improve taking direction better? This is
Perfect.
a good question.
That's
this
a good one to hand off to Mark, and we can all shut up and let him talk.
I had no idea. No.
Okay.
Well,
It depends really on. It's interesting. there's a lot of different kinds of directors, just like there are kinds of different people. Some people, a good director will kind of put their arm around you, bring you over and go, this is what's going on, da da da. There's this story, and you go, oh, okay, great. There are others, if that's not what I asked for, no, that's not what you're doing Irish, I asked for Scottish. And it's like, oh, okay, it's going to be one of those, adversarial. I had one of those once with it was very funny. Betty White was a dear friend, and they were directing her, and the woman was just like, are you letting? And she was like, can we just take a break? And she walks outside. She goes, James, what a bitch, It's like,
Oh, that's so
because
funny.
it was a little rough. It really is, sometimes direction. What's interesting, I remember being at Cartoon Network, and the direction was, I love the size of them. Now make it sweatier.
Uh-huh.
What?
Yeah, well, that's what I wanted to say. but,
You were
but
thinking it though. You're
You're
saying,
like,
what the
yes,
F?
yes, I would. But you go, so the best is you just go, okay, and do a track, and then thankfully they'll hopefully do it in English. Go, okay, yeah, that's it. Except now, just make this a little more in depth, and then they'll get more in depth, and it gives you an idea of what to do. But just most of the time, direction is going to be speed. In other words, so it's as far as how fast you're reading. Also sometimes the tone. Happy if you're actually physically smiling, that's going to help. If you want to stilt something and make them scary and evil, in other words, it's very interesting with an end phrase. If you just go, you have no idea what you're doing. If I go up, you have no idea what you're doing. That becomes very light, as opposed to, you have no idea what you're doing.
Right.
Now it becomes, and if you stilt that, you have no idea what you're doing. And now it's like, oh, shit, okay. So it's just, and it's same phrase. It's just kind of, so have all those little things in the back of your mind. So wherever they want you to go, if you're getting direction, at least you have somebody there telling you what to do. If you're reading direction, that becomes a little more problematic because you're fighting yourself and your own critic, and you're, going, oh, God, I don't know if I should do that. And sometimes you err on the side of going way further than you think you should, because sometimes we get very reserved, and you'll leave it alone for a couple of minutes, come back and listen and go, wow, that's cool.
Nice.
Also, a casting director, I know you can pull back from that. I just want to see you get there.
Yeah, because I'm a big believer, and I tell this to a lot of my students, is casting directors, voice directors, and even my smaller clients that really aren't as leveled as we are. They haven't been in the business but a handful of years. They're international, especially over in India, which I do a lot of stuff. We used to do a lot of stuff over there. They don't understand that they think it's easier to push a talent downhill than it is to push a talent uphill. So if I find an audition comes in and I put it in my finalist bin and it goes to my client, I say, here are the 10 I picked out for this lead role. The client sometimes will come back and say, oh, no, he's too wooden, he's boring sounding. And I tell him, no, I can always redirect him to be more energetic or more this or more that. So I believe in the 3-strike rule. If you're auditioning, especially, who is it, Janice? If you're auditioning, Janice, interpret, like Mark was saying, the direction, but go a little bit off the hook with it. Have an exaggerated, over the top read. Have more of a moderate type of read,
and
then have
that
something
visual
falls-
too in your head. What
Exactly, and hear
picture
those
you
3 different
as that
versions.
character?
Hear the different versions, like Mark just nailed off. Hey, get out of that tree. Hey, get out of that tree. Hey, get out of that tree. All 3 different takes, or what I like to call versions, is what you want to aim for. And I will throw this out too for a lot of people, is you have an advantage, Janice, and other viewers right now that are watching and or even on demand later. If you have a musical background, if you have a vocal background, if you have intonation, if you have good hearing, if you're able to differentiate a sharp from a flat, if you're able to control the musicality of your voice, you're able to take direction better. There's a lot of times, and that doesn't mean you have to go out and become a music major and learn music theory, but you don't be afraid to find a virtual piano on the internet. If you've never done music and sang or anything in your entire life, which is a major chunk of people out there, don't be afraid to go find virtual keyboards and on the internet, use your keypad, your keyboard in your PC or your phone, and go la 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 with the notes and learn musical scales in your head musically. Now, what does that do? I can't tell you how many times, and Mark, you've probably run into this maybe, how many times I've ran into where a client wants to actually be part of feeding you the line.
Hmm.
They want you to give them
Line
a
read, yeah.
line. They want you to ad lib a line. They want you to improvise. Let's hear your version of it. Okay, here's what I would like to hear. My client, Bally, who's now Scientific Games and who I do all the casino stuff with and stuff, they like to hand feed line. Deb
Hmm.
Moreau did a project a couple years ago, the Angel Blade series we did. And basically, they like to be able to sometimes feed the line to you. So they'll
Sure.
say, okay, mate, all right, here's what I would like to hear. Hey, big win. And you got to be able to literally mimic that. You got
Hmm.
to be able to sometimes musically deliver that back in the character, the voice, or whatever. Um, Ian, what's his name? Anderson down in Texas did the sorcerer, or whatever it's called, the sword and the sorcerer, or whatever, for the Bally Company, and they fed him almost every fourth or fifth take became most of the stuff that ended up on the game. So he had this really booming sounding voice for this project, but they fed him a lot of the lines. And bless his heart, he had a pretty difficult time really delivering the line exactly back. And so, long story short, is Janice and anybody else, you want to think about that. You sometimes, not all the time, but I'm sure Mark's running that a lot in projects. He's done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stuff. Sometimes the client or the client's head or whatever of the department wants to actually say, "Great, here's what I'd like to try for me, just so I have an option
Hmm.
on the floor," and they'll feed you the line. So you want to be able to work on being directed, and also like the directive of be louder, be more aggressive, a little bit softer now, and that kind of stuff, but also be able to musically hear the line
Sure.
and repeat
Absolutely.
the line. What's your thought on that, Mark? Have you run into that very often? On
Yeah,
maybe
you get
not in
there's
the
some
A
people that
level.
line read that like to do that. My favorite is when you'll go, "I'll kill you," and then you go, and it'll go on for 10 minutes, and they go, "Okay, well, we're going to be here a while." Um,
Right.
so I think it just you what will happen is it's like anything else. What it is, honestly, you're building muscle memory, and so it's. I always use the same premise as driving a car. The first time you drive, you're like this, and like again, you're setting your mirror and doing your seatbelt, trying to figure everything out. Now, no, you can just look at a script and go, yeah, okay, I know where I need to go. And if they go, you need to go like this, okay, you need to go like this, and that's great, and you'll just you can feed it right back to them exactly how they want it to be. But be prepared to change it up a little bit as well, because they're hiring. Realize that, especially in a live direct, is if you're already hired. They hired you because they liked what you did. So don't start second guessing yourself. You're good. You're in the right
Nice.
place. You did what you're supposed to do. So don't go, oh God, I'm not. Now you already jumped over that hurdle, so you're there. The audition, yeah, again, err on the side of going a little further than you think you should, and then listen back, because sometimes it's nowhere near as far out as you think it is.
Awesome stuff. Stacy, what's your thoughts? I know you've run into this somewhere out there, I'm sure by now. You're about four
Yeah.
or 5 years in.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my thoughts go in a little bit different direction.
Cool.
One, introduce yourself. It buys you a minute. And also you want to feel a little more comfortable. You don't totally know them, but you've introduced yourself. So you're getting friendly, and jot down their names and things like that, so you can just feel a little more comfortable. It buys you a minute also. And then they like it that you did that, and maybe they'll loosen up a little bit. Don't eat anything weird or spicy that morning, that night before, whatever. Don't do anything that you wouldn't normally do. Don't do anything unusual, because you don't want to have to worry mentally and physically if something's going on in your
Hmm.
body. If you're making noises, or you have to burp or pass gas, or your stomach's growling or something. You don't want
Nothing
to
like
worry
a
about
bean
that.
burrito in a booth. That's great.
And yeah, you know what I mean? You're in an enclosed space, so, be nice to
That's
yourself.
funny.
But that kind of stuff, like if you feel like you have air in your stomach or whatever, you're going to be secretly focused on that.
Where
And
are you going?
Oh my God.
And it's like,
you're like, that was part of my
did
shtick.
you hear that? No, I didn't hear anything.
No, it's just interference.
That's funny. You've probably run into that before, Mark, because I've ran into that actually. I was not at like Rocky Mountain Recorders or Boulder Studio or whatever I was at. I was doing a session. We were linked in, patched in. I think it was a TNT project, whatever my son was doing. And long story short is the guy before us when they said, okay, Jensen, go ahead and go in the studio 3. And he goes, okay. He goes in there and he walked in anyway.
Oh God.
And you can see this look on his face. And he sat down and he put the cans on. He was like 11. And he
Oh.
sat down and he was like doing this look on his face. And the guy goes on the talk back, you okay in there? And he goes, man, it smells like a dead skunk or rat in here. Everybody
That's so
burst out
funny.
laughing. Well, the guy before him had been in there for about 45 minutes or an hour doing the narration for the documentary or whatever series and was cutting him loose. And
I had an engineer one time that I had to kind of get aside politely and go, look, buddy, you really need to take something care of with breath, because his breath was so
Oh.
whatever. I mean, bad. Literally, you'd walk, and then the control room is big, and you'd open the door and go,
No.
it's like, dude,
Yeah.
and that's just not. You can't do that, buddy. You gotta like, hey, ma.
And the other things are, check your ego at the door.
Nice.
Because you really need to listen and be present. And if you're in your head, like you guys were mentioning, like, oh my God, that was my best thing, and you told me not to do that, laugh, and that's part of the character. Just, it's about what they want.
Yep,
And they want to hear
absolutely.
what they want. It's not about you or all the different
Absolutely.
amazing, the range of things that you could do. This is not your show what you know moment.
Nope.
It's just do what they say. Their
Very
biggest
good.
test for you is just, can this person follow direction? Can I work with this person? Can we do episodes together? Whatever it is, just yes, don't ramble. And it's like I'm doing now. And, it's all about the reasons for everybody these days. Every time you
Right.
tell somebody something, they're like, oh, well, I did that because I thought you meant this. Just
Yeah,
shut
that-
up.
it
Just
elongates
say,
the session
okay.
from 40
There's
minutes
an
to
old
an hour
session,
every
but
time
it's
you say
also like
something.
learn to read the room. And even if it's not a room, if it's a Zoom set, there's times where you can, lighten up that. There's times where they're a little bit straight laced and you can tell this is not the time to do this.
Nice.
Or we'll just head right to it and say, hey guys, again, thanks for having me. That's wonderful. Thanks for having me back, whatever it may be. Sure. What do you need? Do you have the script? Yep. Got it right here. That's the other thing too, is make sure if you have a live set, you are totally and 101% prepared.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
have Source Connect if that's happening, and you've got your backup all ready to go, and you've got Zoom going, and your audio is routed, and so it's not like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah, wait a
it's not,
second.
because
It was
it's
working
like,
earlier.
well, I
Right.
downloaded Source Connect, but I haven't used it. It's like, that's not the time for a tutorial. That's
Gold.
just,
Janice, this is gold you're hearing, because actually that's a great point, Mark, and Stacy brought up a good point, and she remembers from way back when I worked with her. I have for my beginner intermediate talent, I have one of my VO 101 lessons is the good attributes of a talent. And the attribute, one of them is mum's the word. Don't be argumentative in the session. You want to be creatively involved in the session, but don't go tanging off every time the director says cut, no, cut. Don't say, well, why am I cutting? Well, because I would like more energy. Now, when you say more energy, do you mean because a 40-minute session has turned into an hour and a half?
But two, don't be afraid to ask.
That's
because I've done that
exactly-
before, where it's like,
exactly.
okay, on this line, when he's doing, is he pissed off, or is he just commenting on it?
Right.
Oh, he's done it. Oh, okay, great, thanks. And then
Short
you
and
know where you
sweet.
need.
Bang.
And they're
Exactly.
they're glad you asked, and then you nail it, and
And the
everybody's
clock's
happy.
ticking. Exactly. But like Stacy just killed it, check the ego code at the door.
Yep,
When you walk
absolutely.
in the studio or walk in the booth and you got client X, like Mark was just saying, read the room or physically read the person's personality. And hopefully prior to them, you've had some kind of a conversation or a Zoom with them or a phone call or something. You can know if he's Mr. Suit and Tie about business guy, or if he's some dude who just smoked a ganja out back and took a shot of bourbon before he came in, and is he loose and ready to go? Read the room, read the client prospect. So, man, great stuff, really good. Any final thoughts from either of you before we move on to Who's That Voice?
Yeah, we constantly have a dialogue going on in our head, whether we mean to or not. Our brains are always going. So you've got that constant chatter. Stop. Pay attention. Just make sure you pay attention, because it's easy to get lost in your own head, and you have to hear and concentrate on what they're saying.
Good stuff. What do you think? Any thoughts final for Janice there, Mark?
No, I think that's absolutely what Stacey said is absolutely correct. You just need to, when you come, just be pleasant. Hey guys, how you doing? Da da da. This is great. I love, that third line. That's hilarious. That's a great, the character, or you're getting to see the character. Love that drawing is awesome. Da da da. Whatever. Yep, I'm already on this and whatever you guys, and then they'll usually want to talk and da da. And it's like that's great, but put it in their park and let them take whatever time they want. And as soon as they go, okay, let's go, you're ready to go.
Nice. Not only was that we kind of went off a little bit, Janice. How do you be directable? Well, be musically diverse, take direction, offer your direction, but short and sweet and to the point. Don't be argumentative. Check the ego at the door. And also, you want to definitely consider actually becoming a positive, make with happy talent that people look forward to. The vibe is good when you're part of the session. If you're a negative Danny Debbie Downer and you cause a session tension and everybody's in there going biting at each other because you're constantly argumentative, you're not going to get called back unless that's just your personality. You're kind of funny like a Roseanne Barr or somebody. You're playful like that. That's different. But if you constantly are negative, well, I don't agree. I don't like that. What next talent? You're fired.
Yeah.
And so the reality is, I hope that helped you, Janice, and others, because man, there's some really gold here. Let's go for this. We'll wrap up things a little bit here pretty soon.
I apologize. I actually need to run here. I've got a 12
Hey, Mark,
noon,
thanks
which
for
gives me
being
1
part of it,
minute.
man, for
I just
joining
wanted to
us,
jump
man.
in. Stace, wonderful to see you. Thank you, my friend. Everybody, it's great. Mwah. Love you guys.
Thank you.
And
Happy Friday,
appreciate
Mark.
it, man.
You too. Have a great weekend, guys. Thanks. You. Bye.
All right, Mr. Mark Grau has left the house, left the building. Hey, get in touch with Mark. Check him out. Just Google Mark Grau. And oh my God, you won't believe the stuff this guy has out there, his credits and what he's done. And oh my God. And also check out the voiceover hero guy, the Mr. Voiceover Man, the voiceover man. You got to check that out here
So
on the
good.
24/7 broadcast. If you haven't listened to it, go to the program guide, find out when those air throughout the day. And oh my God, they're hilarious. They're only 4 to 5 minute little skits, but they're absolutely hilarious. And it pokes fun at all the stuff that we face every day as voiceover talent. They poke fun at it, and it lightens it up a bit. Because we, again, like I said at the beginning onset of the show, we take ourselves sometimes way too seriously. And part of being in the voiceover business is you got to love what we do. And if you find that it's too stressful and the heat's too hot, then get out of the kitchen, like my old man used to say. The reality is, if it's not for you, because you can't deal with the ups and downs and the stress, then you're really in it for the wrong reason. So, hey, let's do this. What do you think?
This week's Who's That Voice is sponsored by
It's a boy, 8 pounds, 7 ounces, and he wants to borrow the car and his girlfriend's pregnant.
Commander, the Horde has attacked the East Quadrant.
Are you by any chance trying to trace my whereabouts?
Our greatest curiosity isn't a machine. It's you. The passionate pursuit of perfection.
The Hangover Part 2.
I love cocaine!
Only on TBS.
World-class coaching, legendary voiceover demos. Mark Grau.
Who's that voice?
I beg your pardon.
Do you have a knack for knowing a voice? Can you recognize a voice with your eyes closed?
Oh, I just rescued a tiger.
VO Radio wants to give you a chance to win free coaching, online courses, and other great stuff.
Greetings, Earthlings.
Listen to Let's Talk VO and VO Tubee for the weekly voice of the day.
There's a secret mission.
Then fill out the Who's That Voice contest entry, and you'll be added into our weekly drawing on the Let's Talk VO Live the following Monday.
I think that I've lived like 3 lives.
Now let's test your ability to recognize a voice with this week's Who's That Voice?
Okay, we're back, and oh my goodness, what you could win is a complimentary, a free business review with this amazing guy. Let's see, what is his name? You might know him, Anthony Reese with VO 101.
That guy, he's a scammer. He's just trying to rip you off, people.
That guy. Oh my gosh. And I'm always so afraid to say like the name of any people in case I have the wrong day, so I'm not saying it.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to give the answer out.
I don't
sure.
want to give away the answer.
Hey, tell them how they are going to enter their guess, so to say.
Okay. All right. So all you have to do is go to our site and go to listeners and participate contest. You'll see Who's That Voice and just fill out your submission. But you do have to know, the character and the artist, right?
That's right.
And, it's not so easy because, like, the other one recently, like, I knew the character, but I couldn't think of who the artist was. So it's kind of tricky that way. So try to do it. And then ultimately, if you can't figure it out, of course, you can always Google. There's
You got it. Exactly right.
ways out there. But
Google, people, Google. You know what? And the reality is, I can't believe as voice actors, because that's what we are. We're voiceover talent, we're narrators, we're imagers and audiobook readers and all that. But the reality is we're voice actors. And I can't believe how many people guess at these and end up like 11, 12, 15 entries end up being wrong. And it blows my mind that people really don't know. And all you got to do is if you think you know the character, like Stacey just said, Google it. Just type it in and it'll bring up their IMDb. It'll bring up your credit. You'll be able to find out who that is behind that voice, so to say. So, all right, let's go for it. With that said, get your ears nice and tight to the speakers, and here we go. First run through.
All right, Chris, this is it. This is what we've been working for. If you get nervous, just picture the audience naked and slide those hot dogs down your throat.
So funny. It's so funny.
I just caught that he says if you get naked, it's like
yeah. Oh my God.
All right, here we go. Second run. Here we go.
Okay.
All right, Chris, this is it. This is what we've been working for. If you get nervous, just picture the audience naked and slide those hot dogs down your throat.
Oh my God, that's so freaking hilarious, man.
Oh, and see, I actually don't know the actor on that one. You know what I mean? So I know the character absolutely, but I'm like, oh my gosh, who does that? So,
yeah, then Google it. Google in the character's name, you'd be surprised. Pretty popular actor. He's a director and a actor, so that's a little hint there. But yeah, definitely. So go to the site, click on the contest, go down to where you got to fill in the form, submit the form. We're going to have the drawing on the winner for Monday and Wednesday and today's shows. On Monday during Let's Talk VO. So listen in at 5 o'clock Eastern time, Monday and every Monday and Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the live Let's Talk VO broadcasted over the entire VO radio platform live. So check it out for sure. Hey, we're going to wrap things up. Great show. I was really thrilled that Mark Grau decided to chime in and join us. It's very hard to corner him because the guy talked about being yanked in every direction in the world, but it was really blessed, so to say, to have his presence joining in. He's a true advocate of us, what we've been doing since day one at VO Radio. And the reality is he has probably one of the funniest skits that I've ever run into. It's absolutely top of the line, A-lister level comedy skits they put together. So you want to check that out for sure. So, hey, what's your final thoughts before we wrap up, Stacey? Any final thoughts from anybody you want to share out there?
Two final thoughts. I can never narrow things down to one. And that goes with food too. Like if I go somewhere to eat, I'm like, okay, I could have this or this. Mark Grau showed up today. You know what I mean? You can too. It's that easy. Like here he is. He's so busy. He's bi-coastal, different time zone, all of this. And he said, hey, I'm going to do this. And he just popped on. And it's that easy. And you can too. And we want you to. It's so easy. I mean, again, just go to our voradioonline.com page and visit the Tubee section and zoom in, call in, whatever you want to do. Text us a question. Just be part of it because we're doing this for you and for ourselves and for our community. So it's that easy. He did it.
Well said. Well said, my dear. Well said, darling. Hey, by the way, I wanted to let you know, I know 3 of you texted and 1 emailed and we didn't get to those because after all, it's only an hour a show, people. But I will make sure that we add your questions to Monday and Wednesday shows like Lawrence had. Was it Lawrence? Yeah, Lawrence from California had wrote in and asked about two or 3 weeks ago, can you share the different broadcast types? I attended one of your webinars is what I remember the whole email said. He wanted to know about the broadcast styles and broadcast types. So we're going to also, Lawrence, move that to Monday. We're going to talk about that Monday and the other 3, give or take, texts and emails. We'll add them in Monday and Wednesday. So make sure you check out Let's Talk VO, 5 p.m. Eastern time on Monday. And Wednesday, I can't remember. I brain fart. I should have wrote it down. Who's our VIP guest? Do you remember who it is next Wednesday?
I will.
We have a VIP guest every Wednesday, typically all the way into late June. And I think we just had Corey Rhymes We had Robert Clotworthy in the past. We had Law Lapidus the other day. We've had Mark Grau in the past. We had Mark Cashman in the past. We had, yes,
Oh,
that's true, Robert
Tom
Clotworthy. But
Antonellis.
Tom Antonellis is
Yeah.
joining us Wednesday. So if you have not heard about him, talk about a legend in the industry. So join us Wednesday for Tom Antonellis as he becomes our VIP guest for the show on Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern. And then again, next Friday, we'll be back with our second and third in a row. We're trying to take somewhat consistent via Tubing. And I will tell few people, I got a couple emails that came in that had nothing to do with questions for tech support. For some reason or another, the embedded tool that we're using to stream the broadcast into our VO Tubee web page, when they click on the open in browser, it refreshes the page for some reason. So something's wrong. Obviously, we tested it and worked fine for 3 days. And then ironically, I think WordPress updated this morning automatically. And I think that update must have done something weird because now it's saying untested with your site. So the reason is there's something going on. We'll fix that glitch. So this way, next week on the VO2Me, you'll be able to watch it on YouTube, and you'll also see it live embedded right in the site. You'll be able to click on the open a browser right in the middle of the page, and it'll pop up the video in a Zoom window in front of you, and you'll be able to participate and or watch if you want to participate live like you were supposed to have been able to do starting today. We had promoted. So
and you know
so that
what?
wraps it up. Make sure to enter the great voice off. Make sure you check out the website for What's Your Story. We're still taking those requests to be part of our What's Your Story. Make sure to participate in a day in the life. All three of those are ways you can interact with the show, and you can actually be part of our show from a guest perspective, having your profile shared, and also entering the new great voice off contest. So with that said, hey, we're going to wrap it up and say thanks a lot for being part of the show today, and we shall see everybody really soon. You guys take care and make sure to spread the word about VO Radio and, of course, our VO Tubee.